Today on Doomed! Banned from Facebook? Suspended from Twitter? Channel deleted from YouTube, maybe? Well, if that's the case, then this, folks, is the episode for you. Matthew Billy, host of the new upcoming show about censorship, the Bleep Podcast, joins the show to discuss, well, censorship. That podcast is out June 18th, but we're talking to Matthew now on Doomed with Matt Binder. We'll also talk the Trump administration's new social media reporting tool, what it really is, and more. But first, folks, I just want to thank everyone for the well wishes. If you've been paying attention to my Twitter feed, to my, I don't know where else, Discord channel, the Doomed Podcast Discord channel. Oh, if you're a fan of the Majority Report with Sam Cedar, you heard Sam congratulate me on the show. Thank you for all your well wishes about my new daughter. She was born on Friday, May 24th, and we'll talk about that much more in the second half of the show. But first, let's get to the important stuff. The reason you listen to this show. It's not my personal life, I'm sure. Matthew Billy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, and congratulations.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Now, Matthew, everyone should know this before we get started. Matthew was booked last week on the day my daughter ended up being born, and I had to shoot off an email, let him know what happened, and postpone it. And he is awesome enough to just roll with it and join us the following week. I really appreciate it, Matthew.
Well, I mean, if there's going to be a reason to be canceled from a show, that's probably the best one. So,
right.
Of course.
It's a good excuse because there's proof that I'm not lying. So Matthew, you have this new podcast coming out called the Bleep Podcast, and it really was interesting to me. I came across it, and it's not like this where it's just, having a guest on. Like, you go deep. It's more like an NPR style documentary in each episode where you go deep into a specific instance of censorship. And the interesting thing to me is I listened to a teaser in an interview that you did before this one, and you're not talking to people about, just another social media personality complaining that they got censored from Twitter or Facebook. You really find these interesting, missing from the headlines stories of censorship.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, I really kind of modeled this show after Reply All and Planet Money, where you do like a half an hour deep dive into one instance of whatever the show's topic is. And my show, as you said, happens to be censorship. And these are not small things that happen to people. These are things that happen to them that really impact their lives. Like, could be facing jail time, get their credit destroyed, stuff along those lines. And then and very often they're able to fight back and fight the censorship and actually win.
Now, before we go, because I do want to talk to you about some of the cases you are going to be talking about on your show. But before we get into that, I came across a video of yours that was really interesting to me. Now, I knew that the White House, the Trump administration, had put out this social media reporting tool. And they had wanted their followers, their audience, or anyone really is what they're saying, to basically report instances of being censored on social media. As you know, I'm sure, you host a show about it. Conservatives especially are currently really running with the idea that they are being censored online, specifically on the major social media outlets such as Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, I guess Pinterest and Snapchat, Periscope. Who knows what else they're claiming?
Their Etsy accounts are being taken down. The furniture's too controversial. Yeah.
Well, you honestly never know where they're throwing a swastika these days. But so that's really the big thing right now with this. So the Trump administration decided to put out this this White House reporting tool. And you basically looked into this tool, and I'm going to pull the tool up. And if you don't have it in front of you, you probably have it memorized by now. But I'm going to pull it up here, and let's walk through this tool. If you're listening on the podcast, you'll be able to follow through our explanation. But if you're watching on the YouTube live stream or the Periscope live stream, then you'll be able to follow along with us. I'm going to pull this up now. All right, here it is. It says, social media platforms should advance freedom of speech. Yet too many Americans have seen their accounts suspended, banned, or fraudulently reported for unclear violations of user policies. No matter your views, an addendum from me, I'm sure they mean that. If you suspect political bias caused such an action to be taken against you, share your story with President Trump. And this is on a whitehouse.gov. Well, it's not. It's whitehouse.typeform.com, but it's linked from their .gov website.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you click start, and you see a form. To get started, please tell us a bit about yourself. And do you have this in front of you, Matthew?
I don't have it in front of me, but I do know it pretty well.
All right.
And if we could just back up 1 second, the first thing you have to do is get yourself censored.
Right.
And where I did that, when I made this video, what I decided to do was I went to the Donald, the Reddit subreddit. I typed up a quick post about Don Jr. potentially committing perjury or whatever, and I broke Rule 6 of their form, which is for being a liberal cuck. So that's why I got censored on the Donald. Anyway, continue with looking over the form.
Now, I just want to let me say that afterwards. So let me get to the form first. So, what is your name? I'm gonna be truthful. I don't care. My name is Matt. Okay. And your last name, Binder. Okay. Are you a U.S. citizen or permanent resident? Yes, I am. Are you at least...
If you say no, by the way, it doesn't let you finish the form.
Really? I'm gonna say no just to see it. Oh, it took away the next question from when I said yes, and it just gave me submit. Let's see what happens when I click submit. Okay. Unfortunately, we can't gather your response through this form. Please feel free to contact us at whitehouse.gov/contact. So I'm sorry, Sargon of Akkad, Paul Joseph Watson of Prison Planet. I guess if Stefan Molyneux got kicked off YouTube, he couldn't fill this out. Nigel Farage, if he's been banned from anywhere. Sorry, Nigel. So that's interesting, but let's go back now.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't send anything to that email, though, because ICE might wind up at your doorstep the next day.
Right.
Yeah, be careful.
Now, it's also interesting because if I'm pretty sure I know what the real reason for this form is, and you'll tell us when we're done with filling this out here. I'm just going to refill in what I was up to. There's a reason they don't care that if you're not a U.S. citizen and a permanent resident. But let's continue. Are you at least 18 years of age? Yes, I am. What is your zip code? Everyone knows I live in Queens, so I'll just put in my zip code here. Would you mind sharing your phone number in case we want to get in touch? I'm not going to do that because I don't want people to be calling my personal. But
I didn't either. I used the one for Trump Tower, actually.
Okay. What is your email? Everyone knows my email, so that's fine. I'll pull in my email address. Thanks for sharing that information. Now let's talk about what happened on social media. Continue. What social media platforms took action against your account? Was it more than one platform? If so, please complete this form separately for each instance. I'm going to just check mark them all because I'm sure I can't. What? Enter. Oh, please complete this form. Jeez. Yeah, I read it too, and I didn't even... I mean, if you're going to give me multiple choice options, I should be able to check more than once. For the sake of this, being that we're live on YouTube right now, I'll click YouTube. But the options they gave are Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, or other. Sucks for the other social media platforms designated as other.
Like Reddit, I had to put other.
Right.
Yeah.
YouTube. Please paste a link to your profile on the social media platform. I want the White House to check out my YouTube channel, maybe subscribe, so I'm going to give it to them. They'll have to come and see that it isn't actually banned. YouTube.com/Matt Binder. What happened to your accounts? I was streaming with Matthew Billy of Bleeped about this White House social media reporting tool. Okay. I'm not going to... What specific post or tweet involved? I'm just going to go past that. Sometimes platforms will notify you when you take action. Please include a screenshot here. I'll go past that. Any other screenshots to include? I'll go past that. We want to keep you posted on President Trump's fight for free speech. Can we add your email newsletters? Can we add you to our email newsletters so we can update you without relying on platforms like Facebook and Twitter? You know what? Let's say yes. That'll give me content for future episodes. And one more thing, just to confirm you aren't a robot, the Declaration of Independence was signed in what year? 1776, I believe, right? I hope I'm not wrong there. That would be pretty bad. Please confirm that you accepted the user agreement, which you can view at... All right, I'm not going to read that user agreement, but I know that you have. Can
I summarize it for you?
Please do.
So basically what they say is that all of the content that you submitted to them, every screenshot, all your explanations, they can use it however they want, right? So if they want to use it in a campaign ad, or if they want to use it in, a newsletter to try to solicit donations, it's all on the table.
So, long story short, we don't have to go back to... I won't go back on the screen, but I'll accept it, and I'll click submit here, and I'm now signed up for the Trump newsletter. Now... It seems like this reporting tool, that's its very purpose.
Oh, I think without a doubt. I mean, ever since I did this a week ago, I've been getting 2 of these a day. Yeah, I got one while Mueller was talking today, about something completely different to try to distract me. And then when he was done, I got one rebutting everything he said. So
beautiful.
2 a day.
Beautiful. 2 a day.
It's a pretty aggressive newsletter for anybody.
2 Trump emails a day keeps the doctor away, I guess. Let's talk about the reason for all this. Conservatives feel like they're being censored online. Now, talk to us a little bit about, I guess, your opinion on from doing this, from your expertise on censorship. What are your feelings on basically social media censorship, or as it's described to us as social media censorship? Because I sort of think most of those cases of people claiming censorship online, I'm not saying all, but most of those cases are actually not a case of censorship, in my opinion.
Well, I think a lot of it, I think you're absolutely right. A lot of it you could classify as harassment. You could classify it in a lot of things that just not on social media would be illegal. But I think one of the things that is really getting under conservative skin is the lack of transparency. So I would say that a lot of what they're saying is exaggerated. And I would also say that Facebook doesn't really do a great job of managing this. So you kind of have a situation where it's bad meets evil. But anyway, go ahead. When we talk about conservatives being censored online, like you mentioned, it's usually mostly conservatives are bending the rules. They're breaking the terms of service of these social networks. And I'm glad you brought this up because it's true. The social media platforms aren't doing a very good job of explaining these things. They sort of, in my opinion, again, give the feeling that, these things are real and happening by, for example, when there were these reports of, a sort of liberal bias in the sort of trending stories that got promoted on Facebook. Facebook went ahead and said, oh, this is happening. Let's hire a bunch of third-party conservative media outlets to fact-check or promote their own stories. And now if you look basically at these companies that track the top stories every day, every week on Facebook, like the top 9 out of 10 stories every week pretty much are from conservative outlets. Because Facebook has discovered, Facebook has pretty much given up the ghost. They've sort of given up the idea that, you can now claim censorship, and we'll be forced to sort of give in to you because we don't want to hurt our chances with building a user base with half the country. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's Facebook's moral compass it's guided by the stock price, right? It's not guided by who's right and who's wrong, what's healthy for the country, what's not. And also, I feel like Mark Zuckerberg, a lot of the time, he's very sensitive to negative press. And so if a story like that comes out about him, he starts to bend one way. And then if a negative story comes out about him, from the liberal media, he'll go the other way. He's very malleable like that.
Now, tell us a little bit about, I guess, an example of what would you consider actual real sort of censorship online, like a case where, someone's been truly censored, and it's not because they've been breaking the rules or harassing someone, someone who's actually, or a situation where a platform has come down and blocked someone, banned someone, or a group of people for really their views.
Yeah, well, I have a great example for you. It's not necessarily about their views, but one of my favorite ones that I'm actually working on an episode about right now was back in 2015. Facebook started banning drag queens left and right for not using their real names. You probably remember this, but they instituted their real names policy under the guise that it was supposed to prevent anonymous bullying. And what ended up happening was that all of these drag queens started getting flagged and had their accounts taken down, and then had no way to get them back up. They had no way to rebut Facebook's decision.
Now, so what ended up happening in that case? Did these drag queens ever get their Facebook accounts restored? Was there some sort of, I guess, uproar that eventually got to Facebook? And if they did get them back, I'm sure this took a whole process.
It was absolutely a whole process. But I mean, one of the great things about the drag queen community is that they're great organizers, right? So this one drag queen named Sister Roma organized a protest within like 3 days of having her account taken down, and they had it outside of the Facebook campus in San Francisco. And at first, and there's a lot of back and forth, right? But basically, Facebook said, okay, we're going to do something about this. We're going to have a conversation with you. And then they never invited them inside to have a conversation. So then they threatened to have another protest. And then Facebook said, all right, fine. We'll bring you over. We'll let you, come to our offices. We're going to give you all these snacks, and we're going to listen to you like we care. Right, so everybody walked out of that meeting. Well, all the drag queens walked out of that meeting feeling like Facebook was really listening to them, and they're really going to make an effort to change this so people's accounts wouldn't be getting taken down. But 6 months went by and nothing happened. Right, so then they threatened to do another protest, and finally, what Facebook did was they gave Sister Roma a secret email so that drag queens could email her if their accounts were taken down, and then Sister Roma could email Facebook and get their accounts reinstated. Essentially what they did was they made her an employee without paying her, right?
Right.
So,
what's also, I'm sorry to cut you off. Please remember where you are, but I just want to also add that it's awesome that Sister Roma did that. But if you are a drag queen who doesn't have that in, maybe you're not as connected in the community to know who Sister Roma is, and to know about the email that Sister Roma received, you'd be shit out of luck. You wouldn't even know about that connection to get back on Facebook.
Yeah, because, I mean, I think she's pretty well known in San Francisco, but she might not be so well known in the rest of the country.
Right.
And she's certainly not well known on other continents. And this was happening on other continents, too. But, eventually she, Sister Roma just became fed up and basically said, I'm not doing this anymore. And they threatened to organize one more protest. And finally, Facebook caved a little bit. Right, so they went from having this, you're instantly going to be taken down unless you submit your driver's license to us and allow us to use your legal name, to allowing a list of IDs that were acceptable and giving you a 7-day window to submit them. So it's a little bit better, right? And they were still working on it, but then Russia happened, and this just got swept way under the table. I honestly did not even know about that case. I mean, I knew that drag queens
And I know transgender people had real issues with whether it was in the case of drag queens, their stage name, or in the case of transgender people, when they went by their the name that they chose. These are things that Facebook was just not accounting for, and really shouldn't be in any way affect someone's ability to have a Facebook account if they so choose. And if you think about it, these are real. Not to lay claim to who is a real minority group or not, but compared to conservatives who think they are a minority group online, these groups certainly are a real minority group compared to conservatives who like to consider themselves as, when they really are not. And that's and like another example to me going by that, and I'm glad you brought that up as an example, because it made me think of this one. Facebook again reversed course, but when Elizabeth Warren started running ads for her presidential campaign, saying that she wants to break up Facebook, that was one of her policies, Facebook banned those ads at first. I can't think of a better claim of censorship than Facebook doing that. And whether it's automated systems or not in these cases, I mean, the idea that these drag queens had to go through this whole process once Facebook even got word of this happening shows that they had no problem censoring these people. And when they realized that it was happening, they certainly didn't jump through any hoops to fix it. They were just like, whatever. These people really don't matter that much to go ahead and actually fix the issue. Because if they did, listen, if conservatives were getting banned for check marking that they were conservative in the political affiliation box, I can guarantee you within 24 hours there would be a official Facebook statement. Everyone would know. It wouldn't be you telling someone on a podcast for the first time about Sister Roma's email address. It would be out there.
Yeah. I mean, it gets even worse though, because I even spoke to 3 content moderators for that episode that I'm working on. And they kind of told me a little bit about the behind the scenes of what was going on after the drag queens brought this to Facebook's attention. And they said that Facebook made a special folder for all of these drag queen edge cases, and the content moderators were supposed to, put them in that folder. And from what I understand from all of the moderators, nobody in management ever looked at it. They just didn't care.
That's actually sort of disturbing from the get-go that they were putting these people all in a specific folder. I mean, we know how well Facebook manages their data privacy. I can only imagine what a list of a group who's part of, a list of drag queens could do in the wrong hands. You know what I mean? I'm sure it had their contact information. I'm sure it had who knows what else about them. Maybe even their who knows what else. I can't even imagine, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and some of that's very sensitive too, because sometimes there's risk with exposing the legal name, and they're using a pseudonym. They're using a pseudonym on purpose because it's for their safety. Right.
That's a great point. And it goes even further than censorship when you talk about that. I mean, it shows actually just how censorship is the tipping point now for, it used to be before maybe the online age, you were censored at public speaking, or censored if you were so lucky to be on TV, maybe an opinion was censored on a certain station. But you'd walk away and people wouldn't find, there'd be no further look into that. People wouldn't have the ability to, for the most part. But now, you get censored here, and these companies have more information about you. And in this case, even Facebook, when they apparently are saying they want to help, take these names, put them in a folder, make a list. Who knows what happens if someone a bad faith actor here decides to look into this, find some sort of flaw in Facebook's system, comes across this folder, and doxes all these people,
Yeah, or Facebook willingly sells all of their data to another company, right? 'Cause we've seen that before too.
Right. I mean, Cambridge Analytica, Facebook didn't even know that this company overseas had downloaded all this information, complete profiles of their own users, and were using this against Facebook's terms to basically hyper advertise, like hyper locally advertise, hyper specifically advertise to certain groups for Trump's campaign. And it's stunning that these things are done. And, we complain, you hear all these groups complain just about censorship. And I think this sort of second layer of it that you just brought up is just a perfect example of just how much further it goes than just, no, they're not only, censorship in the modern age isn't just quieting your voice. It's quieting your voice, taking your information to look into the cause for quieting your voice, and then who knows what could happen to that information that you willingly gave to battle the censorship that you're claiming you just went under. It's like this crazy cycle.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And they know everything about you, right? I mean, they know where you like to shop. They know, like, stuff that you filled out a little form to get on the Trump newsletter earlier, but I mean, that information is tiny compared to what Facebook has on you.
And I love that you said that I filled out the form to get on Trump's newsletter, because that's what it is. The social media.
Let's not hide it.
The social media reporting tool, right? So let's talk about this actually. Now you have this listicle, this article basically. And again, I did not know about some of these cases, and it's basically 5 ways that we're being censored that we didn't know about. Can you take us through this list? A brief. We could probably talk about each one specifically for its own episode, and I'm sure in your podcast you probably do. But summarize maybe like just these the most interesting few that I guess most people wouldn't even it wouldn't even cross your mind.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, because I don't have it in front of me, but I believe that there are 2 of the 5 are actually about food, right? There's food libel laws, and then there's ag-gag laws. And the point I'm trying to make by including both of them on there is how much power food companies have over our speech, right? So the food libel law one is basically if you say something publicly about a food company and that food is perishable, like the latest one was pink slime. I think ABC News said something negative about pink slime. It might have even been that they called it pink slime. And they got sued for hundreds of millions of dollars. And it didn't go to court. They settled. It was reported that, it was hundreds of millions of dollars. But, I mean, that's scary because, food, we have to eat that food, right? And if there's something wrong with it, we need our news organizations to be able to report about it without fear of a lawsuit, or having these really strict laws that make it impossible for them to win a lawsuit.
Do you know what the difference would be though of like someone? I don't know. I guess the difference is that it's an agriculture specific law, but I don't know, to be honest. So it's just a question coming to my mind. I go on Yelp, I leave a bad review for a restaurant or something. I say their hamburger was trash or something like that. What? It's bizarre. I don't even know if this might be even a lawyer question. So I'm sorry if I'm posing it to you. You don't even have to know this, but it's just interesting to me that like that's considered something that they can't do. They can't report on how this company is growing or making this food, like the basis of what goes into foods later on,
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Like, obviously a restaurant, if somebody's Yelp review was actually defamation, they would be able to follow the normal course of a defamation lawsuit. But, with these food companies, first of all, they prove damages by how much of that food rots in the field because of what this person said that was negative. Right, so that can be like in the case of the pink slime, that was hundreds of millions of dollars, and basically what they did was they went to a lot of states. This isn't a national law. This is a state law in multiple states that changed the burden of proof. So it was a lot easier to prove that something was defamation than with just a regular defamation case.
That is, that is stunning to me. It really. What's the second case there of the agriculture?
ag-gag laws.
Right.
Ag-gag laws are the second one.
Oh, okay.
Ag-gag laws are a very similar situation, actually. I mean, it's a very different law, but it's a similar situation where in the late 2000s, a lot of animal rights activist groups were having a lot of success of sending undercover investigators into slaughterhouses and fur farms and places like that, and filming animal abuse and then releasing it to the public and getting these slaughterhouses in a lot of trouble. A couple of them even went bankrupt. And so just a couple years after that started happening, a lot of states, very heavily agricultural states, started passing these laws called ag-gag laws, which make it illegal to do three things. They make it illegal to film a slaughterhouse or any kind of agricultural facility without the owner's permission. They make it illegal for you to obtain employment under false pretense, right? So you basically have to tell them that you're an undercover investigator. Otherwise, it's a misdemeanor. And the other one is they have this thing called the fast reporting rule, where if you witness animal abuse, you need to tell the owner about it within 24 hours. Otherwise, that's a misdemeanor. And the idea with that one is that if you have to tell them right away, you can't build a case. Right? You can't collect enough evidence to build a case. So, around 2011 to 2015, these laws started popping into a lot of states. But a lot of very good lawyers have been able to knock them down. I believe four states have had them knocked down so far. So we're making progress, but it's a slow thing because I think 10 states had them. So that means you have to go state by state knocking all of these laws down.
It's crazy how, thinking about the years actually that you just mentioned, to me, actually, it seems like that was like the height of the years maybe where PETA started doing their releasing their videos of how, pigs were treated in certain, say what you want about PETA, but that aside, I feel like that was like the height of when a lot of these videos started going around on the internet. Because, I mean, these animal rights groups have always been doing this sort of undercover, showing up, posing as someone looking for work, getting their video footage, and then releasing it. And it seems like, that's the height of when this stuff started going viral online. The internet helped spread it. It seemed like they were like, oh, now we have a problem here. Let's nip this in the bud.
You're absolutely right, actually. Social media is the thing that's different. Because before social media, you'd have to put the thing on a VHS tape, mail it to a bunch of news outlets, and hope that one of them would pick it up and air it. Now, all you have to do is put it on your Facebook page, if they don't censor you, and and it can go viral. And animal rights activists have some of the most robust social media accounts out of anybody. They share more than anyone. Right.
And, I remember actually going to like punk shows in the early 2000s, and PETA would be handing these things out on like CD.
Wait, really?
Yeah, hard to be getting that out there, I guess. Maybe if more people went to see punk shows, they would have. So there's actually there's a few more interesting ones on here.
Wait, hold on. Can I just interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
So I believe the main character of my episode about ag-gag actually became a vegan because of punk music. I forget the name of the artist she listened to, but she said that she started looking into becoming a vegan because of punk music.
Right. PETA is actually they know who their audience is, and if you go to punk shows, or at least this is how it was in New York City. Go to most punk shows in New York City between, I guess, in the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. I don't know about it anymore. Maybe it's easier for them to say they save money by just spreading it online. Maybe, who knows now. I haven't seen them around as much as I used to, honestly. I don't go to as many shows as I used to, but I still go sometimes. They were really mainstays that almost they had their own booth. They would be handing out flyers and information. They know their audience, if you still have a little bit more time, I'd like to go talk to you about more of a few more of these. It's really interesting stuff. You have a few more minutes?
Yeah, let's do it. What else you got?
All right, cool. So this one to me is perfect because Game of Thrones just ended, and apparently prisons ban books on dragons.
Yeah, I don't. So prisons banning books has always been a thing. The Attica riots, is as far as I understand it, were actually because the prison banned books that were going to teach minority groups inside those prisons about themselves, right? It's ethnic studies. But now, like when you look at these lists, it's like it's crazy stuff. It's like books about dragons, astrology. I think there was one about like meditation that was on the list, and every prison has its own list. So it's kind of like, if we want to rehabilitate prisoners, why are we banning books about meditation?
Right. Right. They banned books about meditation. Wow. Oh, certain prisons, I guess. Right.
Yeah.
But I was reading on your list that apparently some of these prisons, for some reason, specifically go after books on what is dragonology? Oh, incredible.
Yeah. Well, maybe they just didn't like the ending.
Right.
They weren't happy with the last season, so they decided just to full out ban everything about dragons.
Right. I guess that's who knows what would have happened if George R. Martin's never going to release that last book, so maybe they could just let them read it and not worry about that.
There we go.
So let's bring it full circle now with this one. Apparently, last year, politicians cut a library's budget due to a specific story hour.
Oh, yeah, I love this story. This is another episode that I've been working on very, very diligently. Drag Queen Story Hour. It started in 2015, and basically it's drag queens reading children's books to children and their parents. And, it started in San Francisco, spread to New York, then continued spreading amongst liberal cities, and in the fall of last year, it started to creep into cities that you would not consider so liberal or open-minded, right? And what happened was the first time that this became really, really controversial was in Lafayette, Louisiana. And I love Lafayette, Louisiana. It's a super cool place, but it's very split down the middle, where it has this very artistic, very liberal side, and this very, very conservative Christian side, and those two sides often clash. And here they clashed over this public library allowing these drag queens to read to children. And after this one particular, and in Lafayette, Louisiana, after a lot of turbulence, they were allowed to have their story hour. But after that, every time it would go to a conservative city, it was super controversial. I'm talking lawsuits. A lot like Breitbart would start digging through every drag queen's legal history to try to find something wrong with them. And in this one place, Greenville, South Carolina, the librarian, or the head librarian that actually allowed this event to take place, got fired a couple months later. For allowing citizens to use a public space.
That I think I've even heard about this one. That's just stunning. That would, I mean, I guess it really shouldn't be stunning, but it's still incredible to me that would be the outcome of did they end up, what ended up there? Did they end up reversing course? Was there some sort of, did the public get together, or is it still the case that this library basically got their budget slashed?
Well, in South Carolina, I believe the budget was slashed, and the librarian lost his job. In other places, sometimes the ACLU will come in and file a lawsuit because there's rules about using public space. But very often, if there's a Republican mayor in the city, that Republican mayor does not have the librarians back.
Right.
And it's usually the mayor that's the one threatening to cut the budget.
Right.
But it really seems to be different in every city, right? That's why this isn't one story. This is a lot of little stories. One of my favorite is that it's in Georgia. I forget which city, but the library canceled it because of protests, and then the mayor of the city, who happened to be Democrat, invited the drag queens to City Hall, so they could do it in City Hall.
Ah, so I mean that's I mean, it's not the same, but it's a good I guess it's a good way to get some attention to your case, rightfully so.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, it's amazing because, like, if you look at some of the news footage from the controversial drag queen story hours, there's always lines of angry like all these middle-aged men and women outside with their picket signs that have really kind of disgusting things written on them. And they're screaming into megaphones all this nasty stuff about burning in hell. Meanwhile, these parents are walking their toddlers into this library. And inside the library, these drag queens are very calmly reading to these children, engaging them, showing them the pictures, asking them questions to keep them involved. And, you just look at the dichotomy between what's going on outside and what's going on inside. And then I'd also like to point out that the more controversial the Drag Queen Story Hour is, the harder it is to get a seat. These things sell out. So if you want to go, make sure you get there early.
That's great to hear, because it seems like, and you could even, I guess if you have a kid with you, you shouldn't, but if you're going to go and you don't have a kid with you, stay for the after show outside and watch. That's sort of that would be my, I guess, unintentional comedic performance that I'd watch, I'm sure those same people who are trying to shut down this beautiful story hour that these drag queens have put together for children, I'm sure these same people go home online later and complain about Facebook blocking their favorite asshole online personalities, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube accounts, I'm sure.
Yeah,
probably. This one, I was going to skip. I said I wouldn't go through them all, and here I am going through them all because they're all so good. So apparently you can't make a podcast about someone you can make a podcast about someone as long as there are no ads. Now, I have no idea what this one's about because I think this seems weird to me.
Wait, you're going to have to refresh my memory on this.
Sure.
I don't.
S-Town?
Oh, S-Town. Yeah, no, they got censored, or they're trying to sue them for airing. What was the main character's name again?
Let me go through this 1 second. John McLemore?
Yeah, John McLemore. Well, his estate is now suing S-Town for airing all of the material that he willingly recorded with them. And it's a crazy lawsuit, and I think
what?
Yeah, it's an Alabama law. Oh my gosh, I really wish I could remember this better for you, but there's an Alabama law that talks about
right of publicity statute.
Yeah, the right of publicity, and it says you can't do this. And ultimately, I think S-Town is going to win. They're fighting it out, to the best of my knowledge. But I think this is an important one for journalism, right? Like if you record either a podcast like this, or you record something else, and then that the person dies, it shouldn't be up to the estate whether or not you're able to air it, right?
So that's what's going on. You've completely laid it out because I didn't get it even when I read through it. But now that you're explaining it, so basically this person did the voice acting for this podcast, or narrated, or whatever he did for the podcast.
Was the main character. It was about his life.
Okay. Oh, so he was so this is the guy who they covered on the show.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, he agreed to do this. He dies after he does it, but before they release it. And now his estate is using some sort of law that says you can't use the material you shot or recorded with him for commercial reasons without his consent, which he can no longer give, which then means the estate can now reject it. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So they're saying that it's for commercial reasons because they have ads on the show.
Now, did he? Again, I know you. I'm just bringing this one up to you, and I should. Sorry for not giving you a heads up a little bit.
No, it's fine.
But do we know if they did the proper, they signed the release with him saying that he's I don't understand how this happens, or does this right of publicity statute supersede all this, which is even more bizarre to me.
I don't get it. I think it's just a play because they want to try to get money out of S-Town and they're hoping that S-Town settles, right? Because S-Town made a lot of money. But I hope, for the sake of journalism in Alabama, I hope S-Town fights it out. This is an important one to get a ruling on the books and have the ruling be in the favor of journalism.
Right. And now the reason I sort of wanted to go through all these, they're all super interesting, and it seems like you go through them in extreme detail, at least a few of them on your show. But I really wanted to like summarize a few of them, basically because A, they're interesting stories, and B, there's a clear like line stringing these all together. And to me, it's the perfect encapsulation of what real censorship, actual censorship is. And it's a stark contrast to that Trump social media reporting tool trying to get conservatives to complain about being censored. And I think my audience got it. But in case they didn't, or in case you're not my usual audience, the line bringing the things that the one thing concurrent through these all is that it's the government or politicians or someone of that nature, a government body, is what's censoring these individuals or groups. It's very hard, especially in this day and age with the internet, for me to view anything that's non-government censorship as real censorship, because in most aside from that Facebook, cases like the Facebook example you gave us with the drag queens, most of these cases are people breaking terms of service that were clearly laid out to them, and in a lot of cases the social media platforms even give these people second chances, third chances, and they just constantly break these terms of service by harassing or doing things that are against the law, ruining other people's experience. It's to me, that is really the crux of it. To show people what actual censorship is, what you talk about on the Bleeped podcast, and what is currently being pushed through to us in the media because certain voices are the loudest.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. But I also think that, for a lot of those conservatives who love to stir up controversy, being a free speech martyr is very, very appealing to them. So, they're going to push Facebook to ban them because, your last guest, Ben Collins, said that Laura Loomer made like $61,000 the weekend she was kicked off of Facebook.
Oh,
right?
Thank you for reminding me about that. Finish what you're saying, and then I gotta play it.
I mean, so it's kind of like there's an incentive to it. Like you get all these headlines, you get all that money. I think they like being a free speech martyr.
Right. And because you brought it up, give me 1 second here. All right, you're not going to hear it on your end, Matthew, but everyone listening on YouTube and Periscope and everywhere else is going to hear it.
I'll hear it in my mind's ear.
Right. I'm sure if you've heard it once, you can't forget it. Here's Laura Loomer on InfoWars when she got banned from Facebook.
Crazy, but what are they doing? I want to know what people are actually going to do. My life is ruined. Does anybody understand how ruined my life is? I'm sick of it. I don't want to listen to people tell me that I'm a conspiracy theorist. They don't know what it's like to be me. My life is ruined, Alex.
No, I understand. I just think you need to go with it. And, I understand. I've been through this myself.
I love Alex Jones's his reaction to Laura Loomer going crazy about this. If you go on InfoWars and Alex Jones has to tell you, chill, you just got to roll with it, you're going a little crazy, then you really need to take a look at yourself.
Well, he's also kind of like the grandfather at this point, right? All these younger conservatives are probably 2 decades younger than him. He's been doing this now for a good 20 years. He's been making documentaries about conspiracy theories, right? So he's kind of the grandfather of all.
Right. Excuse me, Matthew. Of course, not only do I have a new baby in the house who's actually being very good. I was worried that maybe we'd hear some newborn crying in the background. It'll probably happen eventually on an episode. So far, so good. Knock on wood, though. But of course, I have a cough as well. Just to add to that. But so Matt, let's end this with. I want people to basically know where to hear Bleeped when it comes out on June 18th. And the first episode, and I want you to give them just a little taste of, I guess you've already given them a little taste of future episodes, but give them a little taste of that first episode coming up for them, because I want to make sure they listen, because I think this is a incredible idea for a podcast, and from what you've explained to me so far, it's going to be good.
Well, thank you so much. And first of all, anybody can hear it anywhere. It's going to be on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, you're going to be able to hear this show. If you want more information, you can go to my website, bleeped.org. There's plenty of information there. And the first
really good domain, I want to add. Really good domain
thank
name.
Yeah, I was very proud of that. When I came up with that title, I was like, oh my gosh, how does nobody have a podcast called Bleeped yet?
Right.
So I have this nice succinct word. But, so the first episode is about censorship that we did not talk about yet. It was about this gentleman in Riviera Beach, Florida, named Fane Lozman, who stood up to the city when they tried to use eminent domain to take 2,200 homes and evict 5,500 people and give that land to a private developer. He fought back, and the city retaliated, and it resulted in them essentially stealing his house. And what I mean by that is that he lived on a floating house. Important to differentiate between that and a houseboat, because believe it or not, there's a Supreme Court case in the episode that proves that they're different. But he had a floating house, and they basically just towed it away when he was out buying groceries one day. I won't give away anymore.
Well, that is, again, I want to just bring up the fact that this is a case of censorship that seems a bit more consequential than having your Twitter account taken away. And B, once again, this isn't, it's not like a private company. This guy walked into a private company and, he walked into a Walmart or something and set up a tent and said, I'm living here now. This is a case of the government censoring an individual.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, there are cases where corporations do censor people. I'm probably going to talk about one where a cigarette company tried to censor one of their employees from talking about one of the studies that they did on the job. Obviously, the Facebook example with the drag queens. But a lot of these stories are coming from towns and cities and small governments rather than the federal government.
Right. And I think that's a whole nother episode about why that happens. And if you notice the certain states that you brought up as well, I think it tells a story. And that's not before anyone thinks. I know people like to jump in the chat and probably be like, oh, I'm from that state. No, listen, I think we got to stand with people like you in those states, because the people I'm talking about are the same ones who are complaining that their favorite conservative personality is being censored because he went on Twitter and called someone the C word or harassed them and doxed their real name, address, phone number, social security number. That's what I'm talking about. So, Matthew Billy, bleeped.org. I had them both in my head at the same time, so I combined the name of your show with your name for a second.
Nice.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you had a great time, because I think this is something I would love to do again with you later on when you have some more episodes out.
Oh, yeah, let's do it, Matt. This was a lot of fun.
All right, take care. I really appreciate it.
You too. Thank you.
All right, folks, just going to hang up the Skype here, and you're going to hear that bleep bloop. I still don't know if you guys hear that. Do you guys hear that? The bleep bloop? I don't think you do, but I love it. The bleep bloop. I hope I don't look so tired. I feel a little bit tired, but let me reset that. I don't feel tired, but I can look at myself and see that I look tired. So folks, let's go to the second half. Patreon.com/Matt Binder. It is more important than ever now that if you enjoy this show and can afford to give money, again, would never ask if you cannot. If you enjoy listening to the show and you can't spare a dime, do not feel guilty. Do not worry about it. Keep enjoying it. If you can afford to help support the show, patreon.com/Matt Binder. I asked for $5. You can give less. You can give more. As of right now, there's no real tiers. $5 is really going to help if I get a bunch of people donating $5. But again, no tiers yet. I probably will introduce tiers sooner or later. So donate something. You get everything so far. You help the show continue. If you're in the YouTube channel and you just want to give once, And not monthly like the Patreon is. The YouTube live stream, when it's on, takes the super chats. You can give whatever YouTube allows you to give. I don't even know. I think it's like 99 cents to who knows how much the cap is. It helps keep the show going. Helps me continue growing the show. It helps me even, to be honest with you, it helps me even just in this day and age where, I got 2 kids and every minute counts of work I do. It helps just keep the show alive to begin with. So again, I really appreciate everyone who supports us. And if you want to, you could jump in now and support us as well. And I'm going to read the names of those very people who are the reason you're listening to this show right now. These are the Doomed Patrons, or as I call them, the Legion of Doomed. Abigail T, Adam Q, Alan B, Andrew H, Benji A, Bobby M, Champagne Kami, Chi, Christine H, Colin R, Dave K, David Z, Dragon Slayer 19, Dum da Dum Dum, Floaties, Fraz, Francis Z, FTW All Day, Greg D, Ian Curtis J, Jameson Test, Janelle A, Jasmine H, Jeff K, Jonathan B, Jordan V, Joseph R, Josh C, Katie S, Kyle, Lisa D, Max W, User Me, Michael J, Michael M, Mr. Danks, Nicole A, Namde Net, Omid M, Romina O, Struggle Session, TM, Tamni G, Thaddeus A, Tina M, Tom G, Tom M, Trinae E, Will P, and Zarin. All right, folks, we're going to go to the second half. Gave you the Patreon information. Told you about the Super Chats. Oh, here's another thing. iTunes reviews. Please give us an iTunes review. The star or the written review. Really important. Subscribe to YouTube. More so than any of my social media channels, I'd love to grow the YouTube channel. When I say any of the social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, because YouTube is the platform where people listen to this type of stuff in this format. Video, audio, whatever. Although ever since I did this restream thing where it streams to multiple platforms at once, Periscope has been pretty populated. I was shocked to see that I had an audience I was missing on Periscope. Although it seems like there was an issue streaming to Periscope this time around. Lucky me. Anyway, thank you everyone for the well wishes. I really appreciate it. For those of you who don't know, my son's name is Ezra. He is almost 4. He is having a wonderful time having a little sister. And my brand new baby daughter's name is Enid. And I'm sure you'll be hearing her make special appearances on the show. She's actually been pretty good. Of course, the first day she actually had real fits of crying was today. But luckily she went to sleep and seemed to have fallen asleep for good since, at least for the main part of the podcast. If she wakes up for the members half, I think it's fun then. The members like that type of stuff. The Patreon people like that type of stuff, all right? All right, folks. See you all next time on Doomed. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around. Again, I promise that at some point before the end of the summer, and I'm giving myself some leeway because it was, I believe, in mid to late February, why did I say February? February, I said if Beto O'Rourke outraised Bernie Sanders in the first 24 hours, I would get myself a haircut. And I had long hair. People were calling me Jon Snow then. I would get a haircut. And, of course, that happened. And I said I'm a man of my word, and I was going to get a haircut. But a lot of time went by before I got that haircut. Hold on, I had to gain up a bit. Oh, well, that's not good. Hopefully I wasn't peaking. Sorry, folks, if I was peaking. I hope I wasn't. You guys let me know. Was I peaking? Uh-oh. Anyway. Many months went by, and I did not get a haircut, even though I said I was going to. And I eventually did, and it was because A, I was probably gonna get one anyway at that point, but B, I was gonna keep my promise. All right, I'm gonna keep my promise. If I'm rambling here, this is the face and sound of a tired person with a newborn, who is actually, listen, it's the 3.5-year-old who is actually, he's being really good with her. Actually, he's being really good with her. He's the perfect little boy. But he's actually giving his daddy a hard time. He wants to help a little bit too much. So let's go to the comments. Let's talk. Let's talk. Let's do this. Renee, Papa Binder, Mazel Tov. Oh, because my dad's in the chat. Look at that. Ollie, yo, Alan Binder, Doomed. Grimlock with the cool Doom, like, what is it, ASC2? What was it? ASCII? I can't remember what it was like. The little text pictures for the word Doom. My dad said, good evening, League of Doomers. Renee, congrats, Dark Gritty, thank you. Kennedy, hell yeah. Francis, welcome all Doombots, Doomies, and Doom Legends. Kennedy, congrats, Matt, thank you. Ryan says, what is up with it, Vanilla Faces? Manny says, I got some shitty Trump ad when the stream started. Perfect. I don't care if it was a Trump ad. YouTube showed you an ad. I'm going to get 2 cents from you, Manny. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Kennedy, I just made a Beyond Burger, and it was really good. This is before we even brought up agriculture. Big AG. Francis says, the Matt Binder Show. I should have called it the Matt Binder Show. But Michael's got the Michael Brooks Show. And his initials are MB. And my initials are MB. So he is TMBS. And I would be TMBS. Also, I'm not an egotistical maniac. I don't need the show named after me. The reason the show is Doomed with Matt Binder is honestly not because I wanted to put my name in the show for some sort of pat myself on the back reason. It's literally because I was like, ooh, it'll do good for SEO purposes. Because Doomed with Matt Binder will be everywhere. So people type Doomed, they'll come across the show. People type in my name, Matt Binder, they'll come across the show. That's the real reason. Politics Understander. I hope Matt brings up AOC tweeting about wrestling. I'm going to have to get David Bixenspan on this show. We're going to have a whole episode basically dedicated to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez bringing up Cody Rhodes' after show words at the big AEW event last weekend. I did not watch the show. It was actually the night after my child was born. I was following it on Twitter, but I didn't feel like spending the $50 on the pay-per-view to watch it on my phone. That's the one area where I'll always be an old man. No matter what you guys think about me knowing about what's going on the dark web or in the dark corners of the internet or what right-wingers are doing on Reddit or on any other platform they're hiding on. No matter how much you guys think I'm hip with the times, I cannot watch full-blown movies, TV shows, or live events on my phone. It might be the filmmaker in me. I went to film school. I may be a purist when it comes to having the perfect sort of... I mean, I don't have an expensive TV. I don't have a big screen. I have a nice size TV, but not some sort of a basic... So I think it's like a 40-inch, something like that. A basic TV. I've had it for years, the same TV. More than a decade at this point now. But it looks good on there. I didn't complain about the long night Game of Thrones episode being too dark because I shut the lights off in the living room and I was able to see everything perfectly with the screen. Something I can't say was the case when I was just watching little clips as part of memes on my phone. Cannot watch TVs, movies, or live events on my phone. It's distracting. Cannot do it. Sorry if I just went on a long rant, even repeated myself a few times. I will never do it. Never watch content like that on a phone or mobile device. Kennedy, talking about the Beyond Burger. I'm just going to pass that stuff. That will be for the live stream eyes only, the hamburger talk. Grim says, I was censored for posting hashtag Antifa and hashtag Defend J20 Resistance on Instagram. So where's my pity trophy and cash settlement? You got to make a big deal about it. You got to go out there and you got to get that press for yourself, Grim. You got to do that. Kennedy, also, yeah, my Twitter gets deleted like once every 3 months. Where's my thousands of dollars a month on Patreon? Manny says, congrats, Matt. Thank you, Manny. Brian says, I'm just trying to keep up with the binders, right? There's a lot of them. Renee says, you gotta cry too, Matt, like that witch character on DuckTales, Laura Loomer. Grim says, I wasn't banned, Kennedy, but I wasn't allowed to add text to pics on Instagram until I removed stuff like Antifa and drop J20. Brett, what's up? Cucks? Grim. Yeah, real censorship, right. Renee says, back in the Pinochet days, it was the secret police calling you with data about your family, i.e. children. Politics understander. I have like 4 Twitters, but I lost my main one from like 2012. Kennedy, I had 1 Twitter since 2009 and I got iced in November. Join the Krasenstein bros, right? I gotta do an episode on those guys too, I wanted to get them on. I was talking with them in email, actually, for a short time a couple months ago, if you can believe it. But it fell through when I wanted to get them on. Listen, there's a lot of cases like that. You guys would be shocked to know who I've gotten through to speak to, and almost have got it on this show. I'm not going to tell you who else, because I think there's still hope for some of them, so I don't want to name names before it's possible, before I'm giving up. Brett, my student debt isn't exactly helping my credit. Sanders 2020. Grim says, Sanders Turner Overdrive. Uh-oh. You guys hear that? You hear Sabu in the background, my cat? What's wrong, Sabu? What's wrong, buddy? You guys hear him? He has been actually very well behaved with the kids. He was always good with Ezra. Him and Ezra like to play rough. But play. Trust me. I know the difference. But he's been good so far with the baby. Except for playing with the baby bottle pieces. Hey! That's where he's been bad. Knocking, not only washed, but look at him walk away. He's strutting away like he just did something important. Sterilized baby bottle pieces, left out to dry, and he's gonna knock it off the table. Just as I'm talking about how good he is. Alright, Renee says, having a classical Prussian name helps. Oh, he's talking about the Krasensteins. Oh, I missed something. Politics understander. I've started treating the Krasenstein ban the way right-wingers treat Nazis being banned, and gotten some amazing responses. Listen, this is what my opinion on the Krasensteins are. They actually are not the worst of them all. I know they're really corny. I know they're real. You know, it's easy to make fun of them. I've done so myself, I'm sure. And they definitely, in many aspects, are certainly grifting. But they're not really harming. You know, a lot of those grifters like to attack Sanders. From my understanding, these Krasensteins are real supportive of just all the Democratic candidates in general. They don't want to hurt anybody. So that was an automatic plus for me. A lot of these grifters like to grift and get the never Sanders types, because it's easy to get them if you just hate Sanders. They love Mueller, they love Hillary, just hate Sanders and love those two, and you probably got a nice little side income, if not a full-time gig. But they never did that. Francis Zek says, they're not Nazis, but I don't feel bad. They've been flagrantly violating policy for years. I'm really interested to talk to them and find out what exactly was going on. Because listen, I got alt accounts, but for purposes that aren't, I don't think, against terms of service. I have old accounts I don't use anymore for different little side projects I was doing. I got accounts for to follow people that have blocked me, just so I can not miss any of those tweets. I don't use them to follow me or retweet myself or anything like that. Everything on @MattBinder is pure and organic. No bots, no secondary accounts promoting that stuff. None of that. So I'm interested to see what they were doing. I do know they have that politics site they run, where they make their Google AdSense money. The Hill Report or something. If they just had an account for that, then that's legit. However, if they had multiple bots promoting that stuff, then I see what the problem is. Excuse me. Sabu, come on, buddy. Excuse me. Politics understander. I couldn't care less about Krasensteins, but watching right-wing nut jobs fail to make the connection that both Krasensteins and their heroes broke terms of service is always funny. Bullwhip, congratulations, Matt. Thank you. Renee, to the social media reporting tool from the Trump administration. Please confirm that you don't look Mexican. Right, it's exactly what it was, right? Grim with a joke. Isn't the Trump newsletter the Daily Stormer? Right. Bullwhip. Hey, Matt got a haircut too. I could have sworn I did a live stream. No, I did, but not Doomed. For the last 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, I jumped on and did a live stream only, not for the podcast, but just like a fun live stream to talk with people about the episodes. That's where I showed off the haircut first. Sorry about that, guys. Again, you should be subscribed to the YouTube channel, because if it's not, I really do plan on doing more live streams and more standalone videos for the YouTube channel. Really going to make this YouTube channel a thing, and it's all going to be part of the Dune podcast family, and there's the cat back there playing with some toy or breaking something. Who knows what he's doing. Kennedy says, say the word TERF on Twitter and get permabanned. Really? I have to look into that. I do know that you get, as I talked about on this very show with Parker Malloy, you do get in trouble for misgendering people specifically on Twitter. Like if you're adding them or something. Which is good in my opinion, because that's, to me, that's harassment. As it should be to most people. Kenny says, call somebody a real slur and oops, can't do anything. Yeah, I see that's the case sometimes. Renee says, should have their own social media called Glitter. It would be more popular. Jill, the comedian Jamie Loftus was banned from Twitter for posting threats she received, and Twitter said they were not bad enough to act on. I know she's back. I've met Jamie actually once or twice when I worked at Cafe, because Jamie was also doing work for Cafe as a freelancer. She was doing some really funny stuff. She had an animated series. She's funny. Politics understander. Hashtag Jack is a white nationalist. Grim says Facebook was a mistake. That's when we were talking about all the data they get from the censorship stuff. Politics understander. Matt on some real shit. I usually get ads for dumb shit on Facebook. Today I was getting Trump t-shirts and shit. Listen, if you're getting those ads on a channel you like, click it. Click those ads. You're not gonna buy that shit, and it makes the Trump or whoever is paying for those ads, the Trump campaign, makes them pay. Makes them pay even more. Click that shit. Kennedy. I love social media, but holy fuck, right? That was a reaction to what we were talking about, right? Matthew Billy, telling me some... Listen, I knew drag queens had a hard time on social media. I believe I even knew about the name issue of them getting banned for not using their real names. I did not know the extent of it. That was shocking. Excuse me. Renee, yeah, I was watching the old Sam Cedar debates. Oh, which ones? Politics Understander. I love that Bernie's proposal to force corporations to make employees shareholders is extremely popular and it is literally a Marxist take on boardrooms, right? I'm sorry if you hear the cat in the background. I'm just going to let him go. He's not being too annoying to me. Renee says you should invite the drag queens on a show. Yes, I'm going to reach out to. That's a great idea. Grim, that sounds like a Scientology scheme to slander and threaten people. Talking about the Facebook, right, the Facebook pulling up their information and everything, right? Getting their personal information, saying, yeah, give us this information, we'll put you on a list and help you out, right? Renee, Scientology takes after fascism, right? We'll go into that, actually. I don't know what your interpretation of that is, Renee. I know you're an oddball in terms of being our Jimmy Reefer cake. Live all over the place sometimes, but that's why we love you. But in many ways, yes, that is the case, and we should do a show on Scientology. I've done shows on cults on Doomed. And yes, I believe that's what Scientology is. Oh my god. What is he doing? Grim, remember when Scientologists boiled someone alive and left them to rot for days? I'll be honest, I probably heard about it. Don't have it off the top of my head right now. So I'm a little bit, gotta say I don't remember that. Politics Understander. Where is Shelley Miscavige? Right. It's only been like 12 years since anyone has seen her, and police aren't even investigating. Renee says, you should have a podcast, Grim, like Punks for Progress. I'd listen to a Grim podcast. Dinah Cat Loves Me wants to correct me here. Not the government, but the government acting on behalf of corporate donors. Right. My point wasn't really to say big government bad or something like that. My point was to say that the cases of censorship are usually governmental. Like, it's the same thing as when people are saying they've got no free, they're losing their free speech rights. No, the government has to do that. That's when you lose free speech. Grim says, I agree with Matt. Facebook isn't the feds. They just readily cooperate with them. Renee says, fascism is the union of business and government. Right. Renee says, wasn't there a coder that committed suicide as a copyleft free code martyr? Oh, yeah. Aaron, yeah. I met him, actually, when I was working at the Majority Report. It's a sad story. We should do an episode on what he went through. Because what he went through is ridiculous. What happened to him. What they were charging him with and going after him for. We're going to do an episode on that. Right. Now I'm sad. Now I'm very sad. Kennedy. Doomed and Bleeped. Name a more iconic duo. Thank you. Kennedy says, I got banned for calling Ann Coulter a C word once. Well. Politics Understander says they should have given you a check mark for that. Renee, so misogynistic, Kennedy Crouch. Shame, with a little bell emoji, right. Jay Jareba says, you look good, Matt. Kennedy says, you're allowed to be tired. You have a new baby, we understand. Renee, yeah, the baby will make you grab those electrolytes. Right. Renee says, yeah, Twitch people. All right. Let me see if, let me make sure the comments are coming through everywhere. Don't want to leave anybody out. Sometimes, oh, Renee, thank you. I just saw that. Renee gave me a little bit of, threw me a little bit of a thank you for all my work, my hard work. Threw me a little tip in the tip jar with a super chat. Appreciate that, buddy. Kennedy says, Enid is a beautiful name. Thank you. Politics Understander. Nathan Robinson takedown piece on Pinker. Sign me the fuck up. I gotta get Nathan back on the show. He was on the show before I was doing the YouTube live stream. So, he is one of the audio only episodes. Kenny making sure that's how you spell Enid. Yes, E-N-I-D. Renee says, Enid, like my right-wing libertarian aunt. Oh, stop it. First of all, Enid is not an old person name, to me at least. And second of all, Enid, like the character from Ghost World. Enid Coleslaw. It was the girlfriend's choice, and I liked the name. I thought it was nice. Also a character on The Walking Dead. Jay Jareba says, you weren't peeking. Kennedy says, audio sounded okay to my ears. Thank you. Perfect. Oh, Jay Jareba says, but I'm half deaf. Wonderful. Grim says, sounded great. No complaints. Great. Thank you. Renee says, great job with the Reigns of Castamere, by the way. Oh, thank you. You saw that. You guys want to hear that if you haven't heard it already? I could play that real quick. Here is my son. Where is it? Here is my son singing Reigns of Castamere. My 3.5-year-old son singing the Lannister song, Game of Thrones. Hold on. Volume's down. Here we go. Who
are you? The Lord says that I must spout solo. Only the cat of a different coat. That's all the truth I know. And cold as gold or cold as red. A lion still have claws. And mine long and sharp, long and sharp as yours. And so he spokes, thy Lord of Castamere. Now the rain, we bore his horse, and not a soul to hear. Now the rain, we bore his horse, and not a soul to hear.
I'm gonna play that on the first half of the show next week. But if you missed it on social media, I put it on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. If you missed it, there it is. And if you just listen to the podcast, there it is as well. I was very impressed when I saw that he memorized that song. He doesn't watch Game of Thrones. His mom, huge Game of Thrones fan as well. When she would put him to bed, as one of the many bedtime songs she sings him, that's one of them. Because there's nothing bad about that song. It's a beautiful song, I think. A lot of those Game of Thrones songs are beautiful. The Jenny song from the second episode of season 8, that's beautiful. It's a great song. Like, we got to teach him that one. The Jenny Dance with Her Ghosts. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm going to miss that show so much. Such a beautiful show. Double or Nothing was fire. You should check it out if you get the chance as Politics Understander. Yeah, I really gotta check it out. I've heard nothing but good things. Renee, gotta pull some strings and invite AOC on. I gotta tell you something. I had reached out to her people before she won the primary with Joe Crowley. And it was gonna happen. And it just got kept. I should have got a hold of them earlier. But by the time I got to them and they wanted to make it happen, it was getting really close to the date. It was like a few weeks away, the primary date. And she ended up winning before we could get it planned. And I mean, I knew then and there it wasn't going to happen. But I was super happy that she won. So I didn't really care that it wasn't going to happen because I much prefer her winning. Trust me. I'm not selfish. In fact, if anything, I was kicking myself in the ass for not... Because I had her on the list and I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to reach out to her, of course. But I'm terrible at this sometimes. I don't know where my mind is at sometimes. And I should have reached out much earlier. It's my fault. It never will happen again. I just reach out to everybody now. As soon as I have an idea to have someone on, I reach out. Renee says, got to pull some strings and have him. Oh, yeah, read that. Grim says, Brooks is great, but I just noticed TMBS could be too much bullshit. Namaste, Mike. Enjoy the retreat. Wait, he's on a retreat right now? Where is he? And I am glad I did not go with TMBS because that is exactly... Thank you. Dinah says, no, I typed in Doomed and didn't get the show. I typed in Matt Binder and got the show. Oh, well. That sucks for me. I'll take a look and see what I can do. Yeah, I've been actually also thinking about maybe renaming the show. I really like Doomed. But I don't know if it quite gets across what I'm trying to say on this show. What I'm trying to get across. And how the show goes about its business. I don't want people to not tune in because they think it's going to be a depressing show or something. I would like to think I make it fun, even though we talk about depressing subjects sometimes. Or maybe have a broader name, and Doomed is just the name of the show, the podcast, like this live stream. But then the other stuff I roll out are under a broader umbrella of a name. Who knows? I don't know. Getting ahead of myself, really. Getting ahead of myself. Politics Understander says, don't provoke Sabu. That's how you catch a splash into the barbed wire. Right, that's where he got his... I mean, you know that's where he got his name from. But specifically because our cat, who you all know, passed away last year with our dog. Not with our dog, but around the same time. It was, hard time. Her name was Milkshake. And she was the sweetest big girl. She was sort of a big cat. The sweetest girl, though, ever. Very uncat-like. Didn't climb up on things. Was very emotional in terms of coming up to you and rubbing her face on you to get, like, with her face, like, face-to-face rubs. So happy to see you when you came in the house. Didn't go crazy, liked to play, but not too crazy. This cat is just flipping off shit. Just... For example, Milkshake once knocked over a potted plant off a table. And the experience of seeing that plant fall and hearing it break scarred her. And she never did anything like that again. This cat so far has accidentally, because he tries to jump over it, I can tell, has accidentally jumped into the same potted plant in the same exact spot 3 separate times, knocking it over, and has not cared one bit. I've only had 2 cats in my life. From what I understand, Sabu is much more like a a normal cat, and Milkshake was the anomaly. But to me, Sabu is the crazy one. So that's why we called him Sabu. The other day, he jumped off the bed, jumped off the bed, and hit a standing fan, like a one of those skinny ones that twist around, like the ones that you just plug in and then turn the knob and it spins. Knocked into it. The fan went flying into the wall. Didn't care. Didn't affect him one bit. Didn't get scared by the noise. Wasn't more careful. Did not give a shit. Just like the real Sabu, the wrestler, would be like. Kennedy says, my kitten and my very old dog are inseparable. I can't believe how much they love each other. Dinah, I have 8 kittens right now that I never asked for. Ryan Tennant said, QAnon Anonymous did a kick-ass episode on the Krasensteins that came out yesterday. I will have to check that out. And don't forget, the first episode of this year was with Travis of QAnon Anonymous. So go back and check that out if you haven't seen that yet or listened to that yet. Ryan says they played the Krasenstein podcast, and I can't believe the nerdy-ass voices those two dopes have. Grim says dogs are great, cats are better. I used to be a dog person and wasn't a cat person. Then I got a cat, and I became a both. I can't pick. I like that dogs listen to you, and they seem to actually have an affection for you. Whereas as much as I love my cats, I sort of know how they really feel about me. The affection is more like I scratch your back, you scratch mine. You do for me and I'll do for you. The dog, it's basically, you could kick me in the ass and leave me outside and give me a pebble to eat and I will love you forever. That's the dogs thing. And listen, I'm not saying that to knock cats, and I'm not saying I ever did that to my dogs. My dogs lived 16, 17 for the Shih Tzus, normal age, like 12 for my Cocker Spaniels. It's endearing to know that there's an animal that does one thing and endearing to know an animal that does the other. I love them both equally. Kenny says, Kenny says, I have 3 cats and 2 of them just sort of popped up at different times in my life and decided they were my cats. Also, cats and dogs are both good, and I would take a bullet for all of them. Me too. Got to be more careful about taking a bullet for my cats and dogs, though, now that I have 2 kids. Got to probably save my bullet taking for the kids. Although I would do everything in my power, if I could, without dying, to save my cats and dogs. Jay Jerubis agrees with that. Yay, cats and dogs are equally good. Kennedy, my newest cat just popped up one day in February and stole my heart. In an instant, he was pretty small when we got him, still meowed like a kitten and everything. He's gotten so big, though. Politics and the Standard. I love dogs. I have to take my friend's dog to be put down tomorrow. Oh, man. I'm sorry, buddy. Listen, stay in that room. Let that dog know he was a good boy. He or she was a good boy or girl. It means a lot to have someone they know in the room. I wish your friend went, but I hope there's a good reason. But I'm glad you're going to be there. I was in the room for all my pets except one. And it was when I was a freshman in high school. And it was school that day, and I regret it forever. I didn't go. I don't know why. I just was and I didn't go because I didn't want to see it. I didn't go because it was my first dog that I had to do that with. I just didn't know the process. My dad went, he stayed in the room. And my dad was really the one that she looked up to as the master. So I felt good knowing that she was still, me being there for her was probably no difference with my dad there. But I personally regret not being in there. And again, it wasn't for any reason that I couldn't take it, because I've been the one to take it for every single one. And I do this. I don't trust those. We do the ashes. Again, didn't do that for my first dog because I didn't know then that was a thing. I was a stupid freshman in high school. Didn't even think to ask. I was so like emotionally distraught that my first dog was being put down. But every pet we've had since, and there's been a ton of them, cats and dogs. We get the and ferrets, a ferret. We get the ashes. We go there. We actually drive to the place because I don't trust them mailing the body away. I don't trust no one. With a person, there's legal matters that they have to be really strict with the rules and the laws. But with animals, I feel like these places can be willy-nilly about it, you know? Be whatever about it. So, we drive them to the place. And I personally want to see the one they're put in, and I want to make sure they come out of the same one. Because I think it's, you know, they mean a lot to me, you know? And living in the city, you know, there's no place to bury them. It's probably for the best, actually, with all the moving that goes on, too. That you don't bury them. And pet cemeteries are expensive. We're going to get sad now, aren't we? People are going to send in their... Yeah, I had a feeling. Let me finish these, and then I'll get to the... Yeah. Wait, what? Politics Understander says it super sucks because he's not a bad dog. He was just owned by a paranoid schizophrenic. So he tries to bite everyone besides, like me, my friend, and his brothers. He's also the last surviving puppy from my best friend's childhood dog. Oh, he's not even sick? I think something should be done about that. You shouldn't put down... Like, I agree with Kennedy. No dog should ever be put down for behavioral issues. Yeah, I agree. It's not... I know it's not your call, Politics Understander. But if you could do something, if you could convince them, the owners... Grim says, Matt on that ad hustle. Renee says, there's a few debates with you from my Majority Report days. Hanging up on a rude libertarian. Oh, I have to go back and find those. Send me those, Renee. Grim says, I believe it was Christina McPherson who was boiled alive by Scientologists. Politics Understander. I found a list of Facebook ads shown to me today. Goldman Sachs, Trump Campaign, American AF, NRA, Empire State Conservatives, and Ranger Up Military and MMA Apparel. I reported them all. Politics Understander says, LOL, Sabu versus Terry Funk going on in the other room. Right, yeah. Everyone was going off for Ezra singing the song. I'm a little bit behind on the comments. Renee says, I like the line about the lion. Right. Thank you, everyone. Kennedy says, when does the album drop? Jay Drubus, so much cuteness. Jay Drubus says, stop combining cuteness with a thing I don't care about. Game of Thrones? All right. Kennedy says, my favorite lullabies to sing my niece were songs from Over the Garden Wall. They're all so gorgeous. Misha says, didn't Sam call it trademark bullshit for a while? Oh, the Michael Brooks show? Renee says, conspiracy the show. For Grim says, the Binder Files. Renee says it was too much Michael Brooks for a while. Ryan says, Matt, have Erin Ryan on. Seems like the least she could do for making you be Girl Friday's whipping boy while you were at cafe. Erin Ryan's great. I should reach out to her and get her on. I'm sure she would do it. She's really cool. Really cool. I'm so happy to see her do so many things because she is great. Pogs on the standard says, I hope he skips the sad stuff. And of course, I didn't skip the sad stuff. Listen, I'm glad you brought it up. This is the second half of the show, and we get personal here. I think that's what you guys like, right? You guys like to know about me. Got me to talk about a whole story. That's what we do here. It's all good. If you didn't want me to read it, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't think it was anything bad, though. Really, I don't think. Grim says, most of my cats are very affectionate. Renee says, my cats listen to my mother, had a special relationship. Kenny says, my dog is a effing angel. As a fucking angel. I got so lucky. Kenny says, adopting a cat is way different than having a cat choose you. If a cat chooses you, it will love you forever. Milkshake chose us. Sabu was in between. Can't tell with Sabu if he chose us or not. He was playing with us, but it wasn't the same as with Milkshake. Milkshake saw us and reached out onto the window and really stretched out to us. Can't tell if this cat just saw a person and wanted to, Sabu just saw a person and wanted to play. But all things considered, Sabu is getting emotional with us, to be honest. I think it's there. He's just being a little bit crazy. Because he's also a lot younger than, he's a lot younger when we adopted him than Milkshake was. Milkshake was still like a kitten, but towards the end of it. He was like 6 or 7, she was like 6 or 7 months old. Sabu, he was like, I think just 2 months, if even that. Kennedy says, oh, Matt, you're going to make me cry. I had to leave the room when my last dog was put down. I'm sorry. You're not a bad person, but in my opinion, you should, if you can, stick through it. I know it hurts, but I think it means something to them. I really do. But you're not a bad person for not doing it. I won't read the rest of what you're talking about. It's personal, I know. If you want me to read it, I will, but you've had her from you were 8 to 18. I know. I know how it is. Everyone's crying now. Everyone's crying. We got Francis saying dead, and he's doing the cry emoji. Kennedy is saying she's crying and doing the crying emoji. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm gonna end it here. Renee, on a lighter note, I retweeted Milo to the FBI right-wing radicalization. Policy in the Center said, I would love to, Matt, but none of the rescues will take him about the behavioral dog issues. SPCA won't take him. None of our friends can take him. I understand. It's too bad that none of those places are taking him, though. Again, not your... shocked that there's not a shelter that would take him. It's too bad. Jay Juba says, I would take that dog in a second if I didn't have to already. All dogs are good. Pox on the Standard says, one of the shirts that were being advertised to him was literally Trump on top of a tank with Trump painted on the side and holding an American flag with bombs and shit in the background. Mud Machine on Twitch. Oh shit, it Binder. Wow, there's someone watching on Twitch. Twitch was always the place with the least people watching. So very fun to see people watching on Twitch. I appreciate that. If you're on Twitch, please, by all means, follow me on there. Maybe we could build that up too. Also, if you have an Instagram, follow me on there at Matt Binder. I want to build up all these channels just in case anything happens on one of them. I don't think I'm gonna get banned, but it's totally possible that Twitter dies tomorrow or something. Most of my audience is on Twitter. So that would suck. Like me on Facebook. I'll say this on the first half of the show, but for you guys, my patrons, I know you'll do this because you're already paying me. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on... Subscribe to the YouTube. I know you probably do that already. Subscribe on Twitch. Do all that stuff. Pogs Policy Understander says the dog is just really paranoid around people he doesn't know from being locked in the house for years. His owner wouldn't even let him out the shit. Just picked up off the floor. That's sad. That's sad. Well, take him for a good walk before you go. Take him for a run into a park or something. Let him run free in a field. Jay Druba says, I love the love for animals in this community. Absolutely. Listen, in my opinion, if you don't love animals, you can't call yourself a true leftist. All right, guys. That's our show for tonight. Again, thank you for tuning in. This was the first show back after 2 weeks. The last time I paused the show, I paused the Patreon because I had only given one episode of the show that month where I couldn't do it because of personal issues. And it was a weird show too. It was the live. It was my live commentary on the debate between Cuomo and Cynthia Nixon. So I felt like, it wasn't, I didn't give you guys your money's worth that month. So I put Patreon on pause that month. This month I was looking. This is the third episode in May. Usually I give you 4 episodes a month. I will not pause the Patreon for this month, but the following month I'm going to give you guys an extra episode to make up for it. So it's like nothing ever happened. Again, if I didn't give you guys two shows and I knew I could give you guys a third and delivered here, I would pause it, no doubt about it. But I think you guys will agree. 3 shows is worth it. Thanks for tuning in again. Thanks for all the well wishes. Love you all. Chat says Kennedy, I love you all too. J Drip says, love you all. Left is best. Paul's Understander says, I appreciate all the kind words about what you're going through too. Yeah, I know, buddy. Left is best, and I'll see you most of you tomorrow on MR probably. Oh yeah, this is one quick thing. Let me know what you guys think about this. I'm gonna end the stream, so it's probably not gonna end the stream. Let me know in the Discord or something, or on Patreon. You guys know my feelings about Discord. Can't really get into it. I'm there. I want to make it a more populated network. I really want to get it going in there. But I've recently really dove into Telegram, and I like it a lot. And I think it, as a place to do constant group chats could possibly work better than Discord. For that, Discord will find something out. We'll do some sort of planned, because I know Discord's better for this type of stuff. Planned talks in the Discord, like a planned chats, scheduled chats. But for just as if you're text messaging each other though, I feel like Telegram is much better for that, and we could do that on Telegram. Let me know what you guys think about that. All right. And I'll look into doing that because I think that could possibly work much better. Barry says left is best. Bye everyone. Jay Druba says, when is Binder MR Friday? Kennedy says, yes, Casual Friday Binder. I will be on Casual Friday soon. Sam has already invited me. Grim says, another app. I'm chill with Discord. I hate Discord though. Yeah, I hate Discord though. But I'm not closing the Discord. Don't get me wrong. I'm honestly just trying to get on as many of these networks as possible because you never know which one's gonna blow up, and I wanna make sure we're all there. You know what I mean? Sam mentioned it last Friday, so maybe. Telegram? Renee says I have a channel on Hangouts. Kenny says I could get into Telegram. Renee prefers WhatsApp. I think WhatsApp is for solo personal connections though. I guess they do groups too, right? I'll figure this out. We'll just get on everywhere and we'll just all talk in the most comfortable place for everyone. How's that? All right, everyone. See you all next time on Doomed. Thanks again for the well wishes on the newborn. I really appreciate it.